Multiculturalism and mass immigration has proven to be a total failure.
A lot of stuff happening around the world here today. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today we have got freedoms eroding around the world. Australia, we've got news out of America. We've got First Nations from America trying to claim Canadian land again. Also rumblings of another election. Let's jump into this. We've got Pierre Poilievre with this one. Canada's fastest growing industry, lobbying. Why 500% increase since the Liberals took office? Because government controls the economy. Corporations make money, not by opening a factory or inventing technology, but by using political influence to get handouts, bailouts, and carve-outs. We know this because Mark Carney was lobbying governments for Brookfield. Remember that Infinium jet fuel interview where he said, we put $1 billion to work. It's a great opportunity, because they're basically lobbying and trying to force the governments to increase green jet fuel use in their economies. And then Mark Carney and Brookfield investing in the one company that produces it. That's what's going on. This is crooked, corrupt kind of stuff. His business gets ahead by having the best lobbyists, not the best product. Instead of growing the pie, they lobby for a bigger piece of the pie others baked, leaving less for the rest. They turn money into influence, influence into more money, and the working class who pay for it all get poorer and poorer. Because we've got this one here. Elections Canada says they are ordering millions of ballot box seals in preparation for the possibility of a 2026 election. Seems more likely now. Depends if Mark Carney's able to bribe more people to join the Liberal Party for an undemocratic majority government. So this one coming from Blacklock's reporter saying Elections Canada ordering 6.9 million seals used to prevent tampering of ballot boxes. They are preparing for another election. They are used to seal ballot boxes, poll bags, and various envelopes during elections, said McKenna. The seals protect the integrity of the election process. Elections Canada explained the order in a notice to contractors after the close of the poll. The ballot box is opened by breaking the seals for the counting of the ballots. So here it is. Obviously, they're ordering these for a reason. Someone knows something here that maybe Carney wants to take his chance again and call another election because maybe they have no more leads. That's what this tells me. They're trying to bribe more people and no one's coming over, and he can see his numbers slipping, and maybe he'll pull the trigger here in January. Who knows? But it's important to nip this one in the butt so there's more rumors around another floor crosser. If we've got MP Jim Bellinger here saying, setting the record straight, I'm a conservative today, tomorrow, and next election, wishing everyone a Merry Christmas with family and friends. So no, he's not crossing the floor. In other news, we got Mark Carney named the Canadian Press Newsmaker of the Year, whatever that means. This time last year, the average Canadian might have struggled to pick Mark Carney's face out of a crowd. Now he's among the most recognizable figures in the country, and he was selected as Canadian Press Newsmaker of the Year. I don't doubt that. There's never been a prime minister more corrupt than Mark Carney. I mean, look at all these direct conflicts of interest. No one can even touch the guy. In other news, Manitoba Premier Wab Kinew says the government will consider new milk price controls in 2026 to help ease rising grocery prices. You got the premiers now trying to band-aid Mark Carney's problems here. Manitoba Premier to crack down on differential pricing. They can try their best. This really needs to be solved at the source. The government needs to stop spending money. The inflation is blasting everything out of control here. The dairy cartel in BC and Quebec won't take this lightly. You'll be taking their profits away. I pray for every Canadian to be able to afford a glass of milk. These stories are just getting wilder by the minute here. We've got Aboriginal title cannot be used to restrict Canadian airspace, Ottawa says. This is a real story. An Indigenous group in northern BC has attempted to use Aboriginal title to claim the airspace above Crown land, expelling a local helicopter company and BC government forestry officials. This madness must end. Many of these bans are a couple hundred people. What, we're going to destabilize and ruin our entire economy over this? If BC has to pay out every single Indigenous band out there, we're talking trillions of dollars, $3, $4, $5 trillion. It's a lot of money. The conflict, which occurred over the summer, grew to involve the federal and provincial governments before Ottawa declared in writing to 4 BC cabinet ministers in a December 12th letter that Aboriginal title cannot be used to restrict any flights in Canadian airspace. This is so ridiculous because First Nations never took to the air, not once ever, without the help of modern technology that came in. They didn't have helicopters, they didn't have planes, they had none of that. They want to restrict the airspace, are you kidding me? They never even went into the airspace before technology showed up on their doorstep. And if that weren't dumb enough, we got this story back in the news. Border land claim untested. A federal judge has dismissed a bid by a U.S. Indigenous group to delay expansion of the Port of Vancouver, largest in the nation. That's right, there's an American Indigenous group is trying to claim Canadian land. Buzz off. However, the federal court sidestepped a larger question of whether Indigenous Americans from border states have rights in Canada. Lumi Nation asserts unextinguished Aboriginal rights in Canada as a result of historic use and occupation of what are now lands and waters within Canadian territory, including lands and waters adjacent to the project. The claim must wait for another day, she said. Land borders change all the time. Look what's happening in Ukraine. You can't go back in history and say, well, it was someone else's, so because it keeps changing. Try doing these land claims in Rome or parts of Europe. It has changed hands so many times. Not only that, in Canada, how many First Nation bands have taken over each other's territory? Whose territory is it? The first one, the second one, the last one? This is utter stupidity, all of it. Speaking of utter stupidity, we've got Evan Solomon, cabinet minister here, opens up about unacceptable anti-Semitism in Canada. Oh, really? Now it's a problem. After there's a mass attack on Bondi Beach. It's more posturing from the Liberals. That's all this is. Solomon tells CJN in a wide-ranging interview now that the government is highly engaged in monitoring the terror lord threats, except they keep letting them come into Canada. They let them get Canadian citizenship. There's around 430 terror lords from the Chips and Hummus crew in Canada. They do not care about cracking down on this. These are all lies. Evan Solomon was one of 2 Jewish MPs from Toronto who were appointed to Mark Carney's new government. So despite there being a couple of them that are Jewish, they don't really care. This is all posturing. In other news, we've got a judge reducing an ex-criminal's jail time because of his race. The former football player essayed 2 women in Nova Scotia university residences, choking one into near unconsciousness. But don't worry, because of his race, the judge reduced those charges. We wouldn't want to have a criminal justice system here that actually makes sense and works. And we've got this one here. Do women deserve to feel safe on our streets, or don't they? Who's this friendly character here? His name is Osman Azazev, is out on bail. It cannot be, and yet it apparently is. Among the 14 charges against the 18-year-old Toronto man, 2 alleged accomplices and are SA with a weapon, attempted kidnapping, impersonating a police officer, and unauthorized possession of at least 1 pew-pew. It's a close race, but kidnapping allegations are perhaps the most disturbing because who knows what might have been in store for those victims afterwards. This guy needs to be stuffed into a cannon and fired into a volcano. And what is this neckbeard? Moving ahead, Carney says US-Canada trade deal unlikely due to happen in the near future. Oh yeah? Great job, Mr. Banker. I thought you were supposed to get us a win. But Doug Ford tells us he's doing a great job.
You had expressed some frustration before that you didn't feel that the Prime Minister was necessarily hitting Donald Trump back hard enough. Are you happy with, there's not really a retaliation happening at this moment? Is that continuing to be okay with you?
Yeah, some prime minister's doing a great job. Like I've said before, it's easy for me to sit back and I'm probably the bad guy and he's a good guy. But in saying that, he's sitting there negotiating across the desk or across the chair with them. But it's just my personal opinion. I have an incredible relationship with the Prime Minister, and I'm always going to support him when it comes to...
He has an incredible relationship with the Prime Minister. He thinks he's doing a great job here. Question I have is Doug Ford invested in Brookfield? Not sure what's going to happen with the Kuzma agreement. We got to take here from James Moore.
As you look back, how would you assess the political impact here in Canada of Trump this year?
Tectonic. Right? I mean, the news every day covers the waves. Smart people observe the tides that result in the waves, but I think really important analysis observes the plates that result in the tides that lead to the waves. And the plates have shifted underneath Canada-the U.S. relationship like nothing that we've seen, in any of our lifetimes, for sure. Donald Trump is really an agent of change in a really destructive way. He has shaken Canadian politics. Every political party, Donald Trump will be a major fixture in the NDP leadership race as we turn into 2026. He was a major fixture in the Liberal leadership race. Dealing with Donald Trump is a major element of the culture within the Conservative movement and the Conservative Party of Canada. Donald Trump is he rains down on everything that is governing in politics because he has been such a shapeshifter in every way in politics. So
And it's important to note here, what was the Liberals' tactics? Elbows up, attacking him in the media, insulting him, laughing at him, making fun of him, any chance they got, running the Ronald Reagan ad. And what have we gotten? Nothing. We did not get a deal. Looks like this Liberal strategy once again didn't work out.
I don't think you can escape, I think, that analysis and what its consequence will be. And this is only year one of the second term, and there are 3 more years to go. So I think he will continue to be an ominous figure over politics and policy in 2026.
That is true. Donald Trump is going to continue to shake things up until he's out of office. But then again, we knew that was going to be the case, and yet Canadians voted for the elbows up globalist banker who's invested in America. In other news, we've got Trump moving full head of steam to attempt to annex Greenland. Doing this one again.
Can we start with Greenland? The appointment of the Louisiana governor as this envoy and a tweet that he put out in response to that appointment, not sure if you've seen it, saying that it's an honor to serve with you in this, quote, volunteer position, curious there, to make Greenland a part of the U.S. So, Eric, that's as bold and as direct a statement as one could make. Greenland, a part of the U.S. To that, you say what?
Well, I think the president is moving full speed ahead. And look, what we're seeing, how the president is moving as it relates to Greenland is no different with how the president is also responding to Canada. The president made clear when he was elected that he would engage in economic warfare to make Canada a state. What we saw, at least when it comes to Greenland, is that the president is willing to enact military force to annex Greenland. But we have to remember, Denmark is actually a part of NATO. So it's unclear how far the president is prepared to move. But this appointment, because we have to remember, the president can appoint a special envoy without having to go to Congress. And so I think what we're seeing here is not only is this an end runaround for the president to move independently of the normal checks and balances, but when you look at what's taking place in Venezuela, when you look at how the president has engaged with Canada, this is par for the course for what we're seeing from this administration, and that it is moving full speed ahead, and it's doing so in an autocratic way that clearly breaks the norms and the respect of those checks and balances.
People in Canada will be concerned at hearing this, Eric, of course, because there's been so much rhetoric around Canada becoming the 51st state. So if they can send an envoy to Denmark, should we expect to see similar posturing and moves in Canada?
Well, I think that will probably play out, and we'll see more of that, I think, as it relates to the negotiations around Kuzma in terms of how the president will move. I think if, in fact, the United States does pull out of the Kuzma agreement, I think that will give a clear indication where the president is going with similar moves to what we're seeing in Venezuela.
Well, so he's going to come annex us if we don't get a deal? The Kuzma agreement? Come on. What is this? They're not going to send their troops up here and annex us if we don't get a Kuzma agreement. We'll be in economic shambles is what we'll be. What is this story they're putting on here?
And of course, Greenland, in terms of how the president will look at Canada as well. But I think right now, this should send a massive chill down the spine of all Americans in terms of what we're seeing here right now.
Okay, it is unbelievable, this whole stuff with Greenland, but I mean, these clowns, like, come on. Trump's not sending in the troops. He's not going to come take over Canada. In other American news here, we've got Donald Trump retaliating against ISIS in Syria, who took out 2 American troops. Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs. They've launched attacks on 50 ISIS sites.
Following the president's order to, quote, hit them hard after the killing of 3 Americans Saturday, 2 members of the Iowa National Guard and their civilian translator, by a member of the Syrian security forces. U.S. Central Command launched a massive strike on dozens of ISIS targets in an operation called Operation Hawkeye Strike. Iowa is the Hawkeye state. The strikes took place at multiple locations across Syria. The targets include ISIS infrastructure and weapons storage sites. Pentagon Chief Pete Hegseth tweeted, quote, "This is not the beginning of a war. It is a declaration of vengeance. The United States of America, under President Trump's leadership, will never hesitate and never relent to defend our people."
Whether you like Trump or you don't mess with America, because he will not hesitate to use their toys and unleash them on anyone who attacks America. So this is still ongoing right now. Jumping out to some international news, there's a lot of madness going on here. We've got a bunch of stuff in Australia. They keep restricting freedoms over there. We've got this one. Australia removes anonymity online. That's right, you can't be anonymous anymore for online posting.
Under Victoria's civil anti-vilification scheme, which starts in 2026, the speaker of a vilifying statement generally needs to be identifiable to be held to be held accountable. We recognise that this could protect cowards who hide behind anonymous profiles to spread hate and stoke fear. That's why Victoria will spearhead new laws to hold social media companies and anonymous users to account, and will appoint a respected jurist to unlock the legislative path forward.
These guys are intentionally letting terror lords end citizens in Australia, and then they're punishing the Australians for them being pissed off at what's going on. It's really scary what we're seeing. I mean, the UK is basically a police state now. If you say anything, the police will show up. There's a video, I can't show it, but a bunch of police kick in the door and taser a guy sitting in his chair upstairs because of something he posted online. I saw one where they posted a Palestinian flag. It said F this and F that, and it was written on the Palestinian Palestinian flag. They arrested the guy for like a month or two. Freedoms are being stripped very swiftly from Australia and from the UK. But sadly, what we have here is the Netherlands. What's this? It's another car that is plowed through a Christmas crowd. They're sending a message to Christians around the world. This is just so sad. This one says 10 people were injured in a huge emergency response, including 3 trauma helicopters. What do you say to this stuff anymore? The leftist governments are allowing this stuff to come into the country. They're welcoming it in, and they're like, oh, we've got a problem. That means we have to take away all your freedoms now. This is all planned. Now, one place where this is not happening is Hungary. They're pushing back against this. We've got Geert Wilders exposing EU members of Macron and Ursula. They are not having this nonsense in Hungary.
And my message to all the old leaders, from Macron to Scholz to your old Pedro Sanchez, is your time is over now. They are history. Woke is over. Multiculturalism and mass immigration has proven to be a total failure. And while the leftish liberal intellectuals may refuse to acknowledge this reality, the majority of the Europeans are very clear in what they want. They want secure borders. They want an end to mass immigration. They want us to expel illegal aliens and criminals from our countries. And my message...
His message stands strong here in Canada, too. We want all of that as well. Now, with the government running our country into the ground for 10 years now and trying to take away our freedoms, I thought I'd throw this clip in here because UK has been going through the ringer here and the farmers are coming out and protesting. This happening all over Europe. And what we're seeing here is huge victory for British farmers. Keir Starmer backs down on inheritance tax. They're trying to tax inheritance in the UK, and with a lot of protesting, they finally heard. So you see the word Labour on there a lot. That's Keir Starmer's party, the Labour Party. So it is possible to make change. You just need a bunch of tractors in this case.